The Wise Lantern. In an old village, nestled between rolling hills and a quiet river, people lived without electricity. At night, the village was bathed in moonlight and the soft glow of oil lanterns. One lantern, old and beautifully crafted, hung outside the village mosque, its light a faithful guide for all who passed by. But in that same village lived a young boy named Harris. He often looked at the lantern with a frown. He had heard stories of the city, with its streets lit up like 1,000 stars. "Why don't we have lights like the city?" he would complain. "This little lantern is useless. It's just a tiny speck against all this darkness." One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, the lantern's flame began to flicker. It grew smaller and smaller, a tiny, struggling ember, until with a final puff of smoke, it went out completely. No one had remembered to refill its oil. The path to the mosque, once so clear, became a maze of shadows. An old man, on his way for evening prayer, tripped on a stone he could no longer see. Nearby, a group of children who were playing a game of tag suddenly stopped. They huddled together, their eyes wide with fear, unable to find their way home in the sudden, deep darkness. Even Harris, who had complained about the lantern, was lost. He couldn't find his footing on the path he walked every day, and the familiar shapes of the village looked strange and threatening in the gloom. The next morning, Harris's grandfather found him looking sadly at the dark lantern. He held a small, clear bottle of oil in his hand. "Come here, my boy," he said gently. "Darkness teaches us the value of even the smallest light," his grandfather explained. He handed Harris the bottle and asked him to refill the lantern every evening. At first, Harris thought it was a boring task. He sighed as he walked to the lantern each evening, thinking of all the other things he could be doing. But as days passed, he started to notice something. As he poured the oil and lit the wick, the darkness would retreat, and the path would fill with a soft, warm glow. He saw people walking along the path, and their faces were no longer worried. They smiled as they saw the light, a silent thank you to the person who had brought it back. Travelers passing through the village stopped to rest under the lantern's glow, feeling safe and welcome in the small circle of light. Children played nearby, their laughter echoing in the light, no longer afraid of the shadows that had once scared them. Slowly, Harris realized that his small, simple act of care was helping his entire community. He was no longer just a boy refilling a lantern. He was a keeper of the light. At the annual village gathering, the elder stood to speak. He looked out at the crowd and then pointed to Harris. "The boy who once complained about darkness," the elder said, his voice full of warmth, "now brings light to all of us." Harris felt a sense of pride, but it wasn't because people praised him. It was because he had learned the power of responsibility and how his own small actions could make a big difference. From that day on, the lantern was no longer just an object. It became a symbol of hope, guidance, and the shared tradition of their village. And every night, a boy named Harris, with a full heart, made sure the light of his village never went out.